teaching hate. He's violent.
Black skin, white mask. Already know that life gets hard. And they say that we're used to the harshness. If it wasn't for the pain, I'd laugh. Truth is, we knew about light before dark. Turned music to art and taught everyone to dance. And still no chance. Freedom must be too much to ask. Bleeding from the ache in my heart. Sometimes I wish it was whites in the middle like France. No, I'm not racist, just jarred. Got hate before bush, not plants. They say we should leave it all in the past, but my brother's still dying on the end, so I can't. So if my attitude stinks, don't ask, cause a hashtag won't help you understand my stance. Fuck a melody, this is real rap if you ever see. Head hot, cause the system won't let me be. Tell me how I thrive in a place that don't cherish me. And they wonder why we all need therapy. Pre the energy, yeah, just another nigga to Penelope. And they don't get it how we bottom of the barrel and still drip sauce on the world, no recipe. Weight of the world on my shoulders, all the pressures in life still tightly holding. We pour libation for all of the fallen soldiers, but the pain still goes unspoken. They want us to stay broken, never gonna fall, fuck folding. I see my people lost hope, shit, don't you know we all been chosen.
We are oppressed, we are exploited, we are downtrodden, we are denied not only civil rights but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy.
Forgive me if you don't understand. Sorry, I'm just misunderstood. Punished if I try to take a stand. Meanwhile, my friends dying in the hood. And you can say that we're killing ourselves, but truth is they're killing us still. How you saying Black Lives Matter but never took a moment to help? Just a trend that you post for yourself. And yeah, it takes a toll on my health, cause I want wealth like everyone else, but it's 10 times harder for me. And they wonder why my brothers put food on a scale. Yeah, when I die I'll see heaven, that's real. Cause we already living in hell. Wish I could share all the pain I felt. Oh well, I guess I won't speak till my scars do heal. I just wanna be black with a mill. Yeah, that's for every time I had no meals. Cause my mother couldn't keep up the bills. With a handful of kids, no home, just a cell. And I don't care if conscious don't sell. Knowledge brings height to an elf. Went from sitting on thrones to a cell. Been blessed, man, it wasn't by chance we fell. Weight of the world on my shoulders, all the pressures in life still tightly holding. We pour libation for all of the fallen soldiers, but the pain still goes unspoken. They want us to stay broken, never gonna fall, fuck folding. I see my people lost hope, shit, don't you know we all been chosen.
Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Yeah, this is real life. Kaa kimya skia. Real talk. We're coming from the ghetto. Kinondoni, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania mpaka UK. The world finest. Yeah. Pambana kijana. Life is too hard, life is too short. Shao kwa nango cha ghetto. Usikate tamaa. Jua kwamba ipo siku tutatoboa. Tutatoka. Gang for life.
I am the true name, true name.
Yes, blessed love family, blessed love. We are back once again on this beautiful what a nice day in Babylon. Eh? What a beautiful day in Babylon, honestly. That's a bit of a contradiction in terms, isn't it? But it is a beautiful day in Babylon. Blessed love people. Blessed love Serlene B. I'm not sure if we're going to have any mods tonight. I think everyone's enjoying themselves in the sunlight, in the lovely evening, you know. People slow climbing in, which is fantastic. How have you guys been? Put up a one if it's been a fantastic week. I should put up a one, actually, because it has been an absolutely monumental week, which I shall share with you very, very soon in terms of the developments that we have going on in Africa and in Jamaica. It's been a really, really good week. Blessed love. Not seen the mods yet, but we're going to crack on anyway. So, you guys might remember a post that I put up earlier this week regarding Daisy's Law. Now, I know a lot of people are not rushing to this live because they don't understand what that is. And they're kind of thinking, oh, what's that? Don't care. They should care, because Daisy's Law is a really wonderful, fantastic, dynamic piece of legislation that is relatively new. I think it's been out a couple of years. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown of what that is, and then we're going to invite to the His Time Is Up stage Daisy herself, the sister that is responsible for making that law manifest. So give me a moment. I'm going to share my screen, bring you guys up to speed as to what Daisy's Law actually is, because it is so important in our fight, especially in our fight against the one dirty blood clot Vincent Rat. It is the best bit of legislation that's come out so far as I can see. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to take you guys through a little quick explanation of what Daisy's Law is. Give me a moment. Right, can you guys see that? So what is Daisy's Law? Daisy's Law refers to the campaign and subsequent legislative change in the UK that recognises children born as a result of rape as victims of crime. Because hitherto this, it was not recognised. The children born as a result of rape was not recognised in the UK as being victims. So this law recognises them as victims of crime. This means they are entitled to support from criminal justice agencies and specialist care similar to other victims of crime. The campaign was initiated by a woman known as Daisy, who was born as a result of rape and has long argued that children conceived in such circumstances are profoundly impacted by the circumstances of their birth. And it goes on. It's a landmark legal change. The UK is among the first countries to enshrine in law that individuals born in these circumstances should be treated as victims. It also addresses historical cases. The change in law is also expected to improve the prospect of historic rape, child sexual abuse offences being recorded and prosecuted. Because, hold on. Right. So guys, the reason, as you can tell, why this is so important is because that's our cause. It's going to boost the ability for prosecutions to be brought against these historic sexual abusers in our community. Because as you can imagine, as Daisy's about to tell us herself, these victims of rape, these children born out of rape, are literally walking crime scenes. They're all the evidence that the court needs that these people are guilty of what they're guilty of. Because it's just a DNA test, isn't it? It's a DNA test away. So let me talk a little bit later on about how relevant that is to us and our fight against the wicked ones in our community. But please, guys, put up a massive His Time Is Up welcome for Daisy. Blessed love, my sister.
Hi, Afua. Hi. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fantastic, much better than last week. We had a lot of technical issues last week. Hearing you loud and clear. Put up a one if you guys can hear Daisy loud and clear. Just waiting for response. There we go. Lots of love up as well. Lovely. So welcome, my sister. Welcome. I feel really honoured to have you on the His Time Is Up platform. And, you know, it's just so fitting, your story, the fact that you've campaigned as long and as hard as you have, and how that dovetails and fits hand in glove with exactly what we're doing. In fact, what it does is it boosts what we're doing. So just tell us, sis, where your journey began, how it started. in your own words.
Okay, so I'm 59 this year, so it's quite a few years to cover. I'll do it as summarise as much as I can. I was born in the mid-70s to a 14-year-old child. She was raped at 13 by a 28-year-old family friend. She reported this to police, social cares, parents. Nothing was done. My social work files say police investigated, the matter was never brought to court. I also read there wasn't enough evidence. You've got a child disclosing the name of the perpetrator, she's pregnant, and there wasn't enough evidence. And you just think, this is in the Midlands, 13-year-old black child in Birmingham in the 70s. I mean, what's changed really? Nothing, to be honest. Nothing, to be honest. So I was with my 14-year-old mother for 7 days in hospital. We were separated. I was put into foster care. I remained in foster care for 7 months, then moved again to a white adoptive family. I won't get into the kind of all the intricacies of how difficult that was, but basically torn away from obviously birth parent, birth family, culture, everything. Whole identity change, name change, and growing up in a white town, in a white village, no black community. I wasn't even educated with another black child until I was about 13 years old. I think there were 3 of us in total. Not another black female until I was 18 years old. And so, that's got its own difficulties. I was aware when I was around 13, 14, that my birth mother was around that age when she was pregnant. So I always remember thinking, my God, she was pregnant at school. I was aware there was an age difference, but at that age and at that time, I wasn't automatically thinking rape, which seems bizarre now. I say to people, maybe as a 14-year-old now, I would instantly go to that just because of the education, the more conversations we're having about sexual exploitation, abuse in general. But I think I was just very focused on who is this woman, why wasn't I wanted, and how young she was. At 18 years old, legally allowed to get my social work files, and I desperately wanted to meet my mother. Her father wasn't even in the picture. Wasn't really even thinking about him, just really, really wanted to meet my birth mother. And, that's one of the biggest traumas a child can have in their life is that separation. The separation between mother and child is highly traumatizing for both parties. And actually, your guest last week, my heart just broke for her, everything she went through. But on top of that, she'd had the trauma of adoption and what that means in terms of trauma and what it does to your identity.
Yeah.
So when I went to social care, got my files, edited files, sat with a social worker, and that's when I saw it was rape. And I read that all these people knew, and nothing ever happened. And I just thought, how could that be? How could that even be? And also when I realised it was rape, I was wondering if she'd even want to see me. Is she even alive? How is that experience left her? Do I look like him? Do I look like the child rapist? And whether that would mean, and I would have understood it, but it would have been heartbreaking. I would have understood it if she didn't want to meet me.
Sure.
Anyway, I decided that I did want to meet her and managed to find her, getting birth certificates, electoral roll. This is when the internet wasn't even about. That ages everybody. But managed to find my grandmother's address, and actually a letter was sent with my birth name saying, this woman, we're going to call her Grace. This woman knew Grace in 1975, would like to reconnect with her. No headed paper about adoption or anything else. To my utter relief, this letter got to my birth mother and she absolutely wanted to meet me, which was incredible. And for the first time, having grown up with nobody that reflected me, my race, who I looked like genetic mirroring, I had a picture sent through of her, and I can't even tell you how powerful that was. To be a black child in a white family, in a white environment, feeling so, I just wanted to be invisible, really.
Sure.
And then just to have this connection, and the fact, even after the horror that she was put through, not just from him, but the family, the community, the organisations that failed to protect her, and other children, that she still wanted to meet with me. So I think I was about 20. Again, she's only 14 years old, just 14 years older than me. So both so young. No adequate support. No one counselled me about what it was like to be born from rape, what it was like for my birth mother. There was no advice to my adoptive parents. You know, I had to find this out through a social worker, not my adoptive parents, who obviously knew. And so, and I mean, to be fair to them, how do you really say to a child that? Especially, there's no services to support that. No one talked about it. No one barely had any conversation with me about adoption. The trauma of adoption wasn't talked about or really widely known by professionals or adoptive parents. But we met. It was incredible, bizarre, but I also was very careful, knowing how painful her background was, that I didn't want to kind of grill her on my birth father, and I just wanted to concentrate with her. I wasn't looking for a mother figure, but I will say a difficult relationship with my adoptive mother, which is quite common for adoptees. But also, as a child, this is the third mother I've had experience of. And attachment at that stage, you know, it would have been incredible if we did have a good bond. I did, fortunately, have a good relationship with my adoptive father. I can actually say I had a good dad. So we maintained a very difficult kind of relationship for a few years. Didn't ever ask about the birth father, really. We talked around it, but I never directly asked his name. She never gave me his name. And, you know, you see things like Long Lost Family, who give a really glossy kind of reunion story. And actually, reunions are invariably really difficult. And many, I don't have the figures, but many do fail. When you think about the trauma of everything, the disconnection, my birth mother saw me at 14 years old having to hand me over to a social worker in hospital and was never allowed to mention me again. I've been told I was referred to by my grandmother as it, and she said I looked like the perpetrator when she came to hospital. My birth mother was alone in a hospital, shamed for being a child rape victim giving birth. And then she has to give away her baby and never speak about it. And I'm sure there was very mixed feelings how she felt about me as a baby. Very mixed feelings about how I came about, but also her baby, but also, you know, what I symbolise, my DNA, my genetics. It got to a state, it was when my adoptive father died and you're reflecting about your life, and I mean, that's horrendous. My one kind of parent I was attached and bonded to. When my father's died, you know, you're reflecting on relationships. And I just thought, I'm just going to ask her. I'm just going to ask her about him. And so I wrote her a letter. I also felt, in my opinion, I was making kind of all the effort and to make contact and resume contact. And she didn't want to give me his name. I remember writing in that letter even then, this is mid-2000s, no, this is about saying, early 2000s, saying, you know, I'm evidence. Did you ever think about a prosecution before any kind of historic cases were really coming up? And understandably, this was really upsetting for her and our relationship. It just petered out, really, which was horrible, but it kind of makes sense considering. I would occasionally, now we've got the internet has come about, Google the name I had in the file for him. Nothing would ever come up. So, I remember thinking at one point, God, even if someone just told me where he drinks every Friday, I'm just even curious to just go and look at him. But I will fast forward to 2012, which was really significant. And what I will say in the meantime, I was working as a social worker, so child protection, adoption, child exploitation over the years. And so I had even more knowledge about the repeat offending patterns of abuse perpetrators, the impact of sexual abuse, working with families and children. So I had the kind of professional knowledge as well, and also working on myself as an adoptee and someone born from rape. 2012 was significant. It was Operation New Tree. Rolf Harris, Jimmy Savile, all those 70s stars that we grew up with being allegations charged and arrested for historic abuse of children. And I just thought, well, this is interesting because I have got the files. I'm DNA. I'm a walking crime scene, irrefutable. Didn't have DNA back then. I need to see what I can do because it's about justice for my mother, justice for me. It's also about public protection. This man was 28. What was he in 1975? What was he doing before and what's he done subsequently? Other children in the family, in the community he had access to. So I started researching, started trying to trace him, started looking up sexual abuse cases, rape cases, children born from rape. Also over the years, looking at support for me as someone born from rape. Nothing. One US website, no support at all. Never spoken about at all. And when people like me were spoken about, and this is still the case, it's rapist spawn, rape baby, the abomination, the dirty secret, bad seed, all the negatives. And I just, researched, contacted my birth mother, told her what I intended to do. I was very clear. I want to do this in a way you don't have to go through the criminal justice system. We know that that's brutal for victims. We know the low convictions for rape. So this is around 2014 I approached her. You've made a disclosure as a child. I'm DNA evidence. I've looked up evidence-based prosecutions, which is often used in domestic violence cases where you've got all this evidence, but the victim survivor isn't able to come forward for obvious reasons. And said, I want to try and do this, and I'm just letting you know. She didn't want to be involved, which I absolutely got, but I pursued it. Contacted West Midlands Police, contacted social care. You're not the victim, can't do anything. Kept going back to them, but I've got this. Kept going back to them, I found this. Went and got my files again. From my files, even though there was a different name and a wrong address, I worked out his real name. So now I've got the name Carvel Bennett. Now I've got the address worked out. Actually, that was the correct address. Went back to the police. I've got his address. Actually, I'm in Birmingham next week for work. Come and take my DNA. Isn't this a public protection issue? No, you're not the victim. You keep coming back to us, make a complaint. We're not even recording it. Didn't think I'd have to go that far. Made a complaint. Complaint came back. I'm a vexatious complainant. That's causing annoyance to a process. And I'm just thinking, there is a child rapist in this community, free. You have documentation about him, and you are deeming me a vexatious complainant. And obviously, within the background of this, Birmingham Children's Services under special measures, Operation New Tree, you're starting to have stories about grooming gangs all along this timeline, child sexual abuse inquiry, huge failings, Lambeth survivors, Shirley Oaks survivors, huge failings. I wrote to MPs, wrote to solicitors, child protection experts. No, this is unprecedented. You're not the victim. So it was just like, I can't let this go. This is so wrong. I know I am so right. There needs to be justice. This man needs to be accountable. Even if he's just done this once, the damage, Afua, he has done to so many people, primarily my birth mother, But to me, he changed the course of my life. He changed the absolute course of my life. The impact on
Absolutely. And
all the...
just to
Go
stop
on.
you just very quickly to let everybody know, the irony of this is that we actually covered Carvel Bennett. He was on the Wall of Shame, and we didn't know each other at that point, but he came into our radar. Just to let everybody know that. Go ahead, Daisy.
Yeah. So I thought at some point, I just thought, I don't want to have to do this, shouldn't have to do this. I actually thought naively, Afua, that because the reputation of West Midlands Police and social care was so bad, they'd even do it as a bit of a good PR exercise,
Right.
a bit of an easy win as well. No, we're not bothered at all. And it just makes a mockery of all the kind of conversation that was going on about, rape, sexual violence, sort of an epidemic. Just absolutely disgusting. I felt like I had little else to do but to write to the local paper. A journalist called Jeanette Oldham covered a lot of failings by police and social care. Thought that might get attention. Nothing at all. And I thought, I'm not giving up there. Not giving up there at all. And eventually, what was the catalyst is that I contacted the Victoria Derbyshire show in December 2018, told them about the case, told them what I wanted to do. My birth mother actually consented for the show to cover the story. They did a brilliant job of kind of dramatising what had gone on. There was a studio discussion, and from that studio discussion, there was an MP who I'm not even going to bother naming because it was empty promises, didn't even under-deliver, just didn't deliver after appearing on the show. But I actually was able to have support finally from people who listened to me at Centre for Women's Justice, my solicitor Kate Ellis. They absolutely understood what I was saying, absolutely understood what I wanted to do. Didn't know if it was at all possible. Whole new change of legislation. We know how long it takes for legislation to change, but absolutely wanted to support me. So as a result of the Victoria Derbyshire show going out, West Midlands Police knock on my birth mother's door a few days later. If you want to make a statement, please make a statement. I only heard about this because she phoned me and said, what have you done now? And what I will say is, glad they went out there, didn't notify me, and that was the start of them really kind of splitting us in terms of the investigation. Our relationship was already fraught. The pressure of the police investigation, obviously it's her right to be anonymous, that's why I'm having to be anonymous. I would absolutely prefer not to be, because my whole thing is I'm not ashamed of who I am. But by law, legally, my identity can't be revealed because of her rights. But she absolutely did the right thing, and she did decide to make a statement after the catalyst for them was to go out because they were basically shown up in the media. She made a statement. They contacted me and said, could you give DNA and the witness statements? And finally, after all those years, because the police never even wanted to meet with me, finally in 2019, after I'd been in touch with the police since 2014, did anyone bother to come and meet with me? And of course it was, could we have your DNA? Could we have a witness statement? And I did give them a hard time. I was just like, I've done your investigation. I'm a vexatious complainant, yet I know my DNA is irrefutable. And finally, you're paying attention, and you're only paying attention because you were shamed in the media. So that was taken, witness statement taken, and I have to say, in time of meeting, of getting the results back, this shouldn't happen now with Daisy's Law, but I had to chase and chase and chase for any update, any communication about the case. The hostility, they were so condescending. The fact, it's not all hinging on your DNA. We'll be in touch. It was just no sensitivity about weighing both the needs of mother and daughter, how difficult that was. And, we're not just talking about just a perpetrator. This is also going to be confirmation of who I think is my birth father. And actually, I've missed out a huge part of this. When I wasn't getting anywhere, I need to take you back to 2015, when I really wasn't getting anywhere, because he's getting older, I actually thought, I just want to meet this guy, just in case. I just want to meet him. I'm not going to accuse him. I just want to see him, because I've been chasing a ghost and I'm getting nowhere with the police, and who knows how long this will take, and he can die. So actually in 2015, me and my then boyfriend, with a hidden camera, in case he did say something, but I was really careful not to kind of entrap him in case there was a criminal case, I turned up on his doorstep and said, hello, I believe you're Carvel Bennett. I'm your daughter. And he just smiled and said, come in. And I sat with him in his house for 40 minutes, and he didn't admit anything outright, but said, just because you have sex with somebody doesn't mean you have a baby. He said he wasn't sure about being the father because of timing, not because he raped a child, just because of timing, and told me I looked like one of his other daughters, his daughter that he brought up. And so, I mean, the most surreal experience of my whole life, probably. And I just sort of left there going, well, I'll be in touch, and left. And he got a letter from me later with a news article saying, do you remember me? I'm trying to get you arrested. Yeah, just be warned, someone should be knocking on your door. And that was the first time I met him. So anyway, the police finally confirmed the DNA results. And the DNA results came back that he was my birth father. And so we started the court process. He initially pleaded not guilty, which in many ways I just thought was incredible. This man's in his 70s and there's all this evidence. And even just for the thought that he might get a shorter prison sentence, I thought he might plead guilty, also to spare my birth mother, but he didn't. He pled not guilty. COVID had just started as well, so I was really worried about court delays. I was worried about him catching COVID and dying. I was worried about me catching COVID and dying. It was just, yeah. Obviously, myself and my birth mother weren't really in touch. I was very mindful that I just didn't want to be influencing the case, but also she had very mixed emotions about it. And I also felt extraordinarily guilty, feeling like I'm responsible for this woman having to, of course, she made the choice to do a statement, but because of the kind of what I chose to do in terms of the media, I felt really guilty about having her go through the justice system, the whole court system. So we finally do get to court. In end of July 2021, I think it was 27th of July. I've got my solicitor and one of my friends with me. I walk into court. He's the first person I see. It's very quiet because of COVID. And that's obviously the second time. My birth mother arrives at court, and this is very unusual for adoptees. Many of us don't get to meet possibly both birth parents. And the word privilege doesn't cover it at all, but compared to some adoptees, what they're not able to do, I had the experience, at least, of being in a room with both birth parents, but it's both parents in a courtroom for a child rape case from 45 years ago. And we're all related through sexual violence. And here we all are for the first time under one roof. Wow. Honestly, we went through to the courtroom, a sit down, and this is again another ridiculous, ludicrous experience. No one ushers him forward into the dock, right? So he's just sort of standing there, and he looks really kind of pitiful, Afua. Wow. And he's standing sort of right next to me, and I'm sitting down, and I actually turn to my friend and say, move up one, to allow him to sit down next to me. Wow. Because it was just like, God, what? And then, there's police, there's no care even when I arrived at court. It's like, I'm not sure if you can go into court. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? nothing for me around witness services or support. Anyway, we have 2 days in court. My birth mother, I'm watching a video interview of her police video interview. I've said a lot of times before in different interviews, I have heard so many horrific disclosures from children, from adults, but to sit and watch my birth mother disclosing what happened to her, the rape that conceived me, in a courtroom where everyone else is finding out at the same time, just harrowing, absolutely harrowing. And obviously she was cross-examined, brave, so poised, that was completely unruffled by the defence barrister. Lots of victim blaming, of course. But yeah, I was just really, really proud of her. Birth father, I mean, again, victim blaming, no remorse, absolutely ludicrous that he didn't know. This was his friend's child. He knew how old she was. At one point, sorry that I'm going to say this, he was asked if he ejaculated. Oh, I don't know. You don't know? I'm your 45-year-old daughter sitting. I mean, it was horrifying. It was just horrifying.
Yeah.
And again, there's nobody there. I thank God I had friends, but within that, I'm not anything in that court, really. For me, in law at that time, I was an aggravating factor. Perpetrators get additional time, for example, pregnancy, if there's, other issues that go along with the rape. A pregnancy is an aggravating factor, and that was it. I was very clear right from the start with the police. I wanted to, if it went this far, I wanted to give a victim statement. And of course, it's like, well, this is unprecedented, not really a victim. Yeah, well, if it gets this far, I want to do a victim statement. And actually, the judge did allow me to read my victim statement out. And that was really cathartic, actually, because, sort of long story short, he was found guilty. So this trial was for 3 days. Really, it was for 2 days. And on the third day, the jury came back 2 hours. 45 years later, 2 hours, the jury came back after 2 days in court. That's how quick it was. Because really, what's the argument? What is the evidence is all there. The social work files, it's all there. So I was able to do my victim statement. I was able to look at him, but also that victim statement, Afua, that wasn't just him. That wasn't just to him. That was about all the failings that the community, the police, social care, justice system were all responsible for. Everybody. My birth mother was so monumentally let down and neglected, and therefore I was too. I would have pursued this till the day I died, basically. One of us would have died first, him, me. I don't care, even past him dying, I would have still. And so, yeah, he was sentenced to 11 years.
Wow.
And I have to say, I really commend the judge. He addressed the victim blaming. The judge actually commended me. He recognised the barriers that were up. He praised my relentless pursuit, dogged determination, said he would understand other people doing the same thing. And that was the first time, apart from Centre for Women's Justice, my friends, as well, that's the first time anybody who represented the criminal justice system actually said, you're as much as a victim as well. And off he went. 74 years old, 45 years later, this man has been sentenced to 11 years, so he's due out in December 2028. And obviously now I just thought, this is where the real work starts, because I do not want anybody to go through what I went through. The professional gaslighting, the traumatization, I mean, the hours, Afua, the insomnia, the depression, the actually thinking, I don't know if I've got the energy to do it, and I don't even know if I want to wake up to do it. That absolute anger. I mean, anger gets a bad rap. It was sheer rage and injustice that powered me through, and just knowing I was right, and that fear as well. What he'd done that I knew about was horrendous, and what else he could have been doing to children for decades, and the harm that causes. You know, I work with kind of over the years with the impact of abuse, sexual violence on children, women, males as well. I see what that does to people. And like I said, the impact of what he did, unforgivable, unforgivable. And he got to live his life. There's no winners. There's no winners. I knew pursuing this would probably mean that me and my birth mother would never have a relationship because of how difficult it was and how fraught it was. And I don't even know what she knows about what I've done going forward, to be honest. And, you know, she's had enough, and I get that. But my experience absolutely consolidated the fact that the law needed to change. It's too easy for people to be perpetrators. The justice system is failing. We should use every part of the law to bring people to justice, to protect women, children, everybody. It's a public protection issue, and everything, like I said, going on, it's just a mockery of everything politicians say, of what, you know, these inquiries say, when someone like me has to fight so relentlessly when there is so much evidence and face all this resistance. It's not on. And there are social workers, social care records of people responsible who, again, still didn't want to act. And one of my frustrations is Birmingham's Children's Services, West Midlands Police, there's never been a sorry. I've asked for serious case review. There's never been a sorry. There's never been anything. But I guess my kind of thing is, well, I won. I told you I would do this. But I just think there are social care files around the country where people, children like me, will be looking and going, what have you done? Which brings us to what you're currently doing. But my campaign then was to change the law, Daisy's law, children born from rape to be recognised as victims in law. I've had some people say, oh, you're labelling people victims. Do you know what? Victim isn't a dirty word. It's about the impact of something on you. And actually, in order to change the law, I have to be classified as a victim, to be seen in the criminal justice system, and to get that support. And so we crowdfunded. Also, the victims bill was coming up. So we, myself and Centre for Women's Justice, came forward to give, wrote into that about the law change, what it meant, using my case as an example. And in January 2023, we had confirmation it would be part of the legislation. And then in May of this year, Daisy's law, and the official term is children born as a result of criminal conduct are now victims in relation to the criminal justice system. So we now have rights as victims in terms of going to the police and having that crime recorded, which, I basically was told I'm vexatious and to go away. The right to be informed, which I didn't get. The right to specialist support, and then that's been my next mission, because it's fantastic that laws changed. But as I said, nothing's changed in terms of the taboo and stigma of pregnancies through rape and the children born from them. And there are still no specialist agencies, and that's what I have just launched with two co-founders, now visible.org, and we want to co-collaborate with people born from rape. We've got that lived experience about how the justice system needs to work with us, and actually what support interventions are needed for people born from rape, their mothers, adopted parents, what professionals need to do. And so we've just launched, and we want people to contribute to the survey who are born from rape. But obviously you came to my attention because of the pursuit of justice you're supporting those women with.
Brilliant. Sis, You are a one-woman powerhouse. You really are. Your testimony is so powerful and so far-reaching. You know, it's just phenomenal. I'm lost for words. It's not often I'm lost for words, but I'm lost for words. I really, really am. And you know, one of the things that jumped out at me is when you talked about being the only black child, you know, one of the traumas, the trauma of being ripped away from your birth mother, the trauma of being brought up as an only black child in a white village. I grew up with a friend of mine who was taken from his birth mother. She was also 14 when she had him. It was very unusual in those days for Windrush people to prosecute with things like that, but her father did, his grandfather. So the man in question, his father, was sent to jail
Okay.
immediately, and he was taken off by what was then called the welfare. He was raised in a white family who the father of that family proceeded to molest him from the age of about 3 years old. His mum comes back in like a shining light, locks flowing, when he's about 10 years old. And she takes him back to live with her because she's now grown up. She used to go to the local, it was in Newham Borough. She used to go to Newham Social Services asking about her baby, behind her parents' back, of course, because they obviously didn't want anything to do with it. And she would be insulted by the social workers there, and they'd say things like, what do you want to know about that for? You West Indian girls need to keep your legs shut. Things like that. So she promised them that she would grow up one day and she'd become a social worker, and that's exactly what she did. So fast forward, my friend is just been dropped straight back into the black community, is struggling with his sexuality, and we become friends at 11 years old. He tried to kill himself at 18. Thankfully, he did. He's now a really accomplished graphic artist. But it was, you know, he spoke often of the isolation he felt. And, you know, when his Rastafarian mother turned up, he was playing in the garden with the other children. And he said it was literally like time stopped. It was this mirage that appeared. Somebody who looked like him, you know?
Yeah.
So that really jumped out of me when you spoke about that experience and that level of trauma, because it is a trauma and something that wasn't really recognised by social services, and probably until around the kind of late 90s, they started to advertise and pitch for black foster carers for those reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, what were the kind of main issues growing up before we get to your actual fight and, you know, everything that happened subsequently? Being a black child, like you said, not knowing really at that point that you were who you are, a victim of rape.
Yeah.
You know, what were the main challenges, sis?
I think probably, you know, there's pre-birth trauma. We know in uterus, pre-birth, babies are picking up stress and trauma. I was developing in the body of a 13-year-old abused child. Then I'm separated. So it's kind of that intersection between separation trauma, pre-birth trauma, and then the separation from birth mother. And the impact of that, I mean, if you saw me as a little kid, obviously you wouldn't think I would be this person now. I would say adoption changed who I should have been, and only coming into my own in the last probably 15 years, I should think. Just so shy, painfully shy, compliant, didn't want to be seen. My parents didn't have a clue about my hair. I've just recently had to go and get photos from our family home, and I look at this little kid. We brought up in a white middle class house, you know, but this little kid the hair wasn't done. You know, when I go to hairdressers, still even to this day, I see little girls having their hair done. I feel really emotional about the care being taken on their hair. It still really impacts me because I didn't have that. I just was so ultra sensitive, so hyper aware of who I was in not a positive way, of being stared at, not wanting to be stared at, kind of having to justify your existence because everybody's like, oh, you've got a blonde mother. What? There's already something wrong with you because you're with this family. And even before I knew the sort of words for that, I felt that kind of shame of being adopted. There's probably something wrong with you because what are you doing here? So just so uncomfortable in my own skin. But you know what? There wasn't a shame about being black. I wasn't, you hear these stories about children, black children in white families, sort of bleaching their skin and wanting to be white. I didn't have that. It was just a discomfort, overall discomfort it was just like, what the fuck is going on here? This isn't right. And then understanding it more and just feeling really isolated. I remember sitting back from my family. I used to do athletics, was really good at athletics. And that's one of the things I grew up knowing that my birth mother was good at. And that was like, oh, I'm like her. And I remember they would eat and I'd go off to training, so they'd eat before me. And there were times I would sit on top of the stairs, look down, and think, that's what that family is supposed to be like. I shouldn't be here. I don't belong here. That's how that family should be. And actually, I'm not even with my family. The pain of birthdays. Is my birth mother thinking about me? No one talks to me about adoption. No one acknowledges you are grieving every day as an adopted child. You don't even know. You're in permanent grief. It's a real complex grief because there are people around. My brother went to university in Birmingham and we would go and visit. That was excruciating for me. I was
Just
really
knowing
hyper.
you're in Birmingham.
Just knowing in Birmingham, and now I know where everyone is and who they look like. Someone could have come up to me and gone, hang on a minute, you're one of the family. But just feeling almost like you don't really exist, that you kind of throw away. And a lot of adopted people, even I can say, of course she couldn't have kept me. She was a 13-year-old rape victim, and in many ways, probably in some ways, a relief I didn't stay within that family, and that's all I'll say on that. But there's this kind of primal attachment where there is this abandonment, that separation, which I think for many adoptees, that is just an ongoing fight and battle at your core being, really. That's your first attachment figure, and then that's interrupted or abusive. It's so detrimental. And just having to think, I just remember thinking as a 14-year-old, worried about her, but not even able to say to anybody, I'm really worried about my mum being 14 and what she must have been through. That's a lot to carry. Probably a real deep thinker as a child, but it was worry, insecurity. I mean, there's probably still an element for me where I kind of feel guilty about my existence. I was born, and, not just me, I'm sure not everybody's celebrated when they're born, but I know when I was born, that was just the reality of a rape to be dealt with in the care system and then to never be spoken about. And social workers to pat themselves on the back because she's going to a nice white middle class family. Done. Isn't she lucky? Adoptees are supposed to be grateful. And actually, my foster parents, they had wanted to keep me. They were with me I was with them for 7 months. They weren't allowed to keep me.
Your foster parents?
They were a white family. So I'm not even going to say they could have done a better job promoting my race. I don't know. But that's another attachment broken. Another attachment broken. So by the time I went to my adoptive family, there's probably a sense in me of, what's the point? How permanent is this? And I think we now are better at it, but underestimate the impact of all those experiences on babies pre-birth and then everything that happens subsequently. And then on top of that, you find out you're born from rape in those circumstances. And to what is to many the worst thing that could happen to anybody. And you are evidence of that. And it is. Children born from rape, I find, are spoken about in a negative way about abortion. and child tax credits. If your third child, I think they're changing it now. If your third child is born from rape, then you get child tax extra child benefit.
I'm glad they've extended it that far. Fantastic.
And that's it. But so all these women who were getting additional credit, tax benefit, what's happened to the perpetrator? Where's the support for them and their children? Some women will say, I love my child, but it's been really difficult. It's been horrendous, and I can sometimes see a look of their father. My birth mother didn't have a choice. She didn't have anyone trusted to say that she'd even been raped. And by the time I was discovered, she'd concealed me. It was 7 months. I was 7 months, 2 months away from being born. And so she didn't have a choice. And what I will say, and I think sometimes people think this is controversial, what I will say is, and there's choice where there's a 13-year-old rape victim is not the best word, but if she had been able to tell somebody at that age, there could have been some discussion about what could be done with the pregnancy. And I'm not saying abortion isn't traumatic for people, but there could have potentially been an option. And that's not me saying, oh, I should go. I've had people go, well, why don't you go and kill yourself? Come on. It's about, if she had a termination, if there'd been at least that choice, limited choice, I simply wouldn't exist. It would be, Sally's law. Someone else would be doing it. But there wasn't even that option to have somebody to talk to because there was nobody safe, nobody caring from her within the family.
The irony is, though, my sister, is that had you not been born, then we may not have come this far in the justice system to be giving victims or children born of rape their status, their rightful status. Sometimes it's the destiny of those that were affected to enact change and to bring about change.
Yeah. Do you know what, Afua? This sounds a bit mad, but as a young child, probably around the ages of 8 or 9, I think, there was something in me that was thinking there's something I'm going to do in life that's going to be really big. Yeah. And, in a way, it's like how lucky I am that I've got my purpose, that there's something passionate that I've done, that I feel, and that out of so much horror and devastation and tragedy, there's going to be so much positivity. It's not all for nothing, all of this fight has been for something. And, that's the legacy, of the family, really, not the rape and violence and secrecy and harm, but about justice and people shunning the shame. And not everybody may want to get justice. That's fine. I get it. I mean, there was a report out a couple of days ago, the London Victims Attrition Review. 69% of witnesses withdraw before the case even goes to court. And there's not many cases even going to court. The justice system is failing. And if anything about Daisy's law should be appealing to these lawmakers, it should be about how easy, really, these convictions should be, particularly with children, when it's children, young girls being raped and having children, where there is irrefutable DNA evidence. And as I said, there are social care professionals, medical professionals, people up and down this country over the years who will know of these cases. There's evidence of perpetrators, just like there was for me. And we need to do something. We need to do more. It's,
absolutely, my sister.
It's just too much talk.
Evidence exists within the family a lot of the times in our community. They haven't gone anywhere. They are there. The children are there. They're often raised in the same house as the individual, And I think one of the most pivotal things about your fight, your struggle, is the fact that it should be increasing the statistics. But how long ago was the law passed? How long ago?
It came in May.
Just
May this year. It was passed. Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it had been in a couple of years, but my bad. So
it was announced in 2023 that it was going to become legislation, and then it was passed in the Victims and Prisoners Bill this May.
And that shows, everyone else that doesn't understand the system, how long these things take, because it was announced 2 years ago, but it didn't come into law until 2 years later. Classic, you know, but we're still, I'm hoping that, well, it's literally just born, Daisy. It's just born. So what is going to be the long-term implications moving forward for perpetrators in the community? Because we know there are a lot of children born of rape in our community, and not least the children of Vincent Rat, because that is where we segue at this point. You and I, we segue at this point in the sense that your legislation, your fight collides with ours in that regard. And I just think that that has to be a pivotal moment in the His Time Is Up campaign and the fight to bring Vincent Rat to justice. It has to be a pivotal moment because we know some of those children. One of those children is in my daughter's family. So I'm going to be making an appeal moving forward, Daisy, of the children of Vincent Rat to come forward, because you described your mum, you know, and her shame, her fear, her trauma. And we understand that that's exactly the affectation of Vincent Rat's victims. A lot of them will not come forward. You also mentioned the stats from the report. 69% of victims turn away. And that's exactly what happened with the victims who came to me in the first place. They went to the door of the police station and literally turned back, many of them. So it's really important, this conversation that we're having, so important, not just for the wider implications or the wider benefit of victims that are born of rape, but particularly more focused in our community and with that individual that we're talking about, because he's a prolific offender. And Carvel Bennett, I couldn't actually find, I didn't get the time, I should say, to find his picture, but I'm going to put it up again during the week, guys, of Carvel Bennett, because I do remember that name and I actually remember the face from the post that I put up. We didn't have a victim to come forward and tell us about him, but he went up because of the conviction, I do believe. When was he convicted, Daisy?
August 2021.
Yeah, I remember him. I do remember him. The conviction came up. I think it went into the press and we got it. Someone sent it to me and we put it up. And that's as much as I knew about him until now. But it just shows you that there are other victims. There may well be other children as well that we don't know about from him. But there are other victims, because I'm pretty sure that your mum and you didn't send me that picture. It was somebody else. And there was, I do remember them kind of giving me a little bit of blurge about him from Birmingham. They knew him, you know, they knew him. And it just felt to me as if they were quite invested in making sure that I put that up, you know. That's what I do remember. But I am going to try and find the original and put it back out there, because I don't think that 11 years is enough. I think it's an insult to your trauma, your pain, and your mother's trauma and pain. 11 years. You get more for dealing drugs. You get more for robbing a bank. Why are the sentences so low? Not only are we, the uptake for being charged is 0.8%. It may have fluctuated, but it's around that. And convictions are 1.8% in these cases. And then if we do get somebody to court, like in your case, Daisy, 40 years later, 11 years, it doesn't seem adequate to me. How did you feel when the judge handed that sentence down?
Absolute relief, actually.
Sure.
But also, you know, there's no winners. You know, it nearly broke me.
Of course.
The most tragic thing is the situation between the lack of relationship between myself and my birth mother that was further damaged by the way this investigation was undertaken by the police. They absolutely wanted to split it, because having both of us together, side by side, doing this would have been really, really difficult for them, I think. Yeah. So, you know I had to forfeit potentially the future relationship, but also it was a relationship not in existence because of what this man had done, really, the perpetrator had done, and what that had led us to happen to us in terms of our separation.
And so
it shouldn't.
You've got
Sorry, go on.
multiple complex trauma playing out. So is your mum. And then you have to take on the fight and the extra trauma of dealing with the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder, is it deliberate? It feels deliberate.
Totally. It was, I mean, friends were just like, you're still going. You're still going. You know, even I wrote to the first Victims Commissioner 2013. There's 2 Victims Commissioners in this time. This is like over a decade. Hours and hours. I was getting 2-3 hours of sleep a night doing social work job on top of that, in a system that I'm fighting against as well. And it just relentless, the lack of care, the lack of, and you do think, I'm a black woman, is that what, and this is the police, they wanted me to give up. I mean, that just even further ignited me as well, to be honest, the absolute rage and injustice. But I could absolutely see why I would give up. It's like being in a boxing ring. Yeah. It was absolutely like being in a boxing ring, but they underestimated me. I mean, even getting that letter, vexatious, I was devastated. I was so disgusted. Now I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm vexatious. But it was just, I mean, yeah, people say, I don't know how you've not given up. They wanted you to give up then, didn't they? They wanted you to give up then, didn't they? There's a list of sort of 4 or 5 friends who they would get the phone call of me sobbing, going, they're trying to break me, look what they've done now. Or you just get silence, just get no reply. I remember contacting 2017 West Midlands Police established a historic offences team. Oh, perfect. Contacted them. I've been in touch with the Public Protection Unit. I want to make sure you've got this man's name in case other people come forward. Your response, we've seen about your case, nothing we can do, go away. So it wasn't, you just absolutely disgusting.
It is, it's, I can relate to some degree with what you're saying in terms of the absolute wall that I faced in 2020, 2021 into 2022, trying to get to meet with Lambeth MPs, trying to get to meet with borough commanders, just receiving asinine answers and excuses as to why this can't happen or why it isn't an issue or why they don't have the power to take it forward. It's ridiculous. And if I felt like that just as a campaigner, as opposed to a victim, it is absolutely insane in this country. And I do believe that it is deliberate. I have my own thoughts about why that is, but it is deliberate because it has to be. Why is it also the absolute least priority in terms of criminal justice funding, attention to anything that victims have to do? It's the most underfunded part of the criminal justice system. Why is that? Why do paedophiles get such low sentences? It's absolutely insane. But my sister, you have been amazing, and we thank you. We thank God for you because, as I say, I'm going to be pushing it forward in terms of our own campaign because that's a breakthrough. That is a breakthrough. I believe in my heart that the children of Vincent Rat will do what you did, and that is to give their mother a voice through them, and now they have the legislation to do it. We would love to know. The community, I think, deserves to know, and you deserve to be known by the community as well. We deserve to know who you are. And I get that that's about your mother's identity. I understand that. But at the same time, you've achieved something that is pretty much unheard of. It's not been covered. We don't know about it. We don't know who you are. There should be a monument to you, I think is what I'm trying to say, sis. And I don't mean that to be facetious. I absolutely mean that with all my heart. There should be a monument to you. In the fight for VAW, violence against women and girls, justice for women, highlighting this issue, you should be given a monument. Absolutely. Because that is massive. And I do believe that if you were a white woman, a white female campaigner, that you would be given a lot more kudos than you have been. Because it's huge.
You know what? I believe so. I believe so.
It's absolutely huge. Why don't we know about it? Even if they blocked out your identity, put you on a good morning show or whatever it is, it would happen, and we would know who Daisy is, even if we'd never seen your face. You know, so sis, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story with us, my sister. I'm going to put the link out, which is what we do around this time. And that is to see if anyone wants to jump on and say anything, comment, perhaps give you, post some direct questions to you. Please jump on, guys. Don't leave Daisy hanging. Normally we don't get a lot of people coming up. I don't know, some people are shy. It depends. If there's a contentious issue, we tend to get people jumping on. But generally people listen. But jump on tonight, guys. Yep, Daisy's Law. And look it up. Google it. Google Daisy's Law. It is so important, that law. I'm feeling like your endeavours, my sister, your fight, your pain is going to bear a lot of fruit. I really do.
After I said to you, I mean, we only spoke last week, didn't we? But, I keep thinking about these women and their children, obviously adult children, the gross neglect all around the same timeline as what was happening to my birth father is same age as that man, that child rapist. I can't even bear to say his name, the guy you're after.
Yeah.
And the gross neglect, his violation, that just scale of it potentially, the neglect by Lambeth, it's just sickening. It's just absolutely sickening with everything that's going on, and with light being shone on so many things, even, today, this week, about the Melting Pot Children's Home, and black children being sexually abused. It's just absolutely vile, and whatever I can do, and obviously our organisation Now Visible are absolutely behind you. Whatever I can do, I'm happy to meet any of the women, any of their children. They're not alone. There is the support in the legislation, and whatever I can do to assist any of them, please let me know.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see who this person is. We've got Dr. Solomonaka, whose technology isn't working tonight. I'm suspecting who's Dr. Solomonaka? Dr. Solomonaka, you're live. You're live, Dr. Solomonaka. Your camera's off, you're live. What do you want to say? Hello? Dr. Solomonaka. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Hi there, we can hear you, but we can't see you, which is fine. You don't have to be seen, but we can hear you.
Yeah.
Welcome to His Time Is Up. How are you, brother?
Honestly, I'm happy I'm on the show, to be honest, but
Okay.
I'm furious because I'm constantly breaking down a wall. Like, you understand, the Babylon keep coming to my yard and bashing down the door, and I'm not opening it. You understand? They can go about their business because they got work to do. But like, obviously, as somebody that don't commit crime no more, and I'm a victim, and I'm standing up in the community for women plus children plus myself, and this is the thanks I get. Like, they want me to,
But do you have
I don't need
anything
to say
to?
too
I hear
much.
that, brother. Sorry, I hear that, and I'm sorry that's happening to you. But have you got anything
It's
to
fine.
speak to what Daisy's been saying tonight, and the issue that we're talking about tonight is what we're talking about.
Definitely.
But
Definitely.
DM me on Instagram, and we can talk further about you.
I'm blocked off Insta. They've blocked all my accounts. They've took my phones, so I can only communicate with you here.
Oh, I see.
Or on WhatsApp or something like that. Do you see what I mean?
Well, yeah. Let's find a way to communicate. Maybe comment after the fact.
Definitely.
But right now we're talking about Daisy's Law, and you've been listening to the sister tonight.
Yeah, I started late. I jumped in at about 17 past, but I've been listening, man, and I'm blown away because, like, as I know myself, like I'm probably slightly younger than you, I'm 39, but like what Daisy's done, and like, how can I put it? so much women suffer in silence, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is a major problem. It's a major thing. It's been going on for a very long time. So
Mm-hmm.
to hear a story like this, like it's soothing for me. It gives me that little bit of hope and that little bit of fight and that little bit of, you know what I mean? It just gives me that little booster that I needed. You see what I'm trying to say? And it's like, what's the word? It's very rewarding. Like, you're gonna get multiple rewards, Daisy. You don't even know, because like you sent ripples through the country, like through the world. Do you know what I mean? This is what happens when people like you do what you do. Do you see what I mean? Because there's a lot of people are gonna take something from what you've done, and it's gonna help them along their journey.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much. I really appreciate that. And like, it could be anything that you're dealing with in life. I just hope one of the messages about, we can feel powerless in lots of situations, but I hope there is something motivational that can inspire other people as well when you feel like the odds are stacked against you. But I really appreciate what you said. Thank you.
Bless
You're
up.
welcome.
Thank you for that, my brother. Thank you. But listen, I don't know, maybe use a friend's phone or something and try to DM me at Afua69. It's on the screen. Try
I
and
have
DM me.
no friends. Sorry to cut you, but I have no friends, and I don't deal with none of my family members because they dealt with me wicked. They pedophiled me off. Right. My cousin links me from time to time, but that's very rarely. I'm
Okay.
out here by myself with my ting them and God. That's it.
All right.
But I will get a new phone soon. I will. But it's
I
just that
just
I'm
want
not
to find out
rushing.
how I can get hold of you, my brother.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm on YouTube at the moment. Like, but
Okay, so
other than that,
how do you feel? How would I be able to contact you though, so that we can talk in confidence in private?
um, yeah, I'm on WhatsApp other than YouTube. Do you know what I mean? Because
All
like I
right,
said,
but how am I
every
going to
other
get your
platform.
number? I don't want you to advertise your number in the comments, obviously.
Yeah, my number's in the comments already, for all of them boy there, that's been running them out. So I mean, I don't mean to be too funny, or my head's a bit gone. I don't play, but yeah, my number's in the
Listen,
comments.
let's jump on. Let's talk then. You
Definitely.
see underneath this live. If you don't mind leaving your number, please do that for me. If that's the only way
Yeah,
that you
I'll do
want
that.
to do it. Or actually, can you get to like do they still have internet cafes, people? Do they still have internet cafes out there? Or you
I
can go
think we
and,
do.
or the library. You can go to the
Yeah.
library. Yeah,
Yeah.
listen, I'm gonna put my email address. It's actually, if you, when the live ends, go into the description on YouTube and you will see my email. It's connected to my PayPal. So please email
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
I don't really want you to put your number in the comments for the public to see,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
please
Yeah.
email
Yeah.
me then, brother. Go to the library, email me your number, and then I'll jump on WhatsApp with you, okay? All right. Blessed love, my brother.
All right. Greetings.
All
Give
right.
thanks.
Give thanks. Yes, indeed. And, the trauma continues. Brother just mentioned there that he'd been abused by his family. So it's
Yeah,
definitely somebody who needs, I think, our help there. It seems quite vulnerable.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. But you've given him inspiration and many, many other people watching. We've got 200 and odd people watching at the moment, which is relatively low for us. We usually get more. But I think because of the hot weather, a lot of people are out tonight. But it's still a whole heap of people. And as he said, it gave him the inspiration to be able to come on, my sister. Anyone else? Anyone going to come on? If not, sis, I'm definitely going to talk to you after this live. But thank you
yeah.
so much for sharing your story with us. Truly an
Thank
inspiration.
you. Thank you. And I've seen all the really amazing messages. Thank you, everybody, for taking the
Yeah.
time to listen. And
Mhm.
yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sis. But also, just before you go, when we were speaking before, you mentioned, when you were coming up through all of this and not really feeling a part of the community once you'd even connected with the community. But I'd like to say here that if no other part of the community accepts you, you're definitely one of our sisters, my sister. You are
Thank
definitely
you.
part of our community, no doubt about it. Your
That means a
fight,
lot.
your determination, all of that comes from your DNA, that
Absolutely.
absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Bless you, my sister. Blessed love.
Thank you so much.
Bless Blessed days. What a lovely, inspirational sister. My goodness. My goodness gracious. It feels as if sister is literally a blessing from above. A blessing from above. My goodness gracious me. Do you know, guys, the implications that this has for the man named Dirty Rat? Lambeth just needs to do the right thing. Lambeth needs to push the legislation. It's very new, and the chances are is that they probably don't even know about it themselves at the moment. So I'm certainly going to be letting them know about it. And I've met with the same MPs that Sis was talking about, you know, the same type of MPs. I met with Lambeth MPs, all three of them. Not one of them. Empty promises. As I said, asinine excuses as to what the bloody hell was going on in Lambeth. We've only seen the tip of the iceberg. Bubic Forsyth, who I mentioned years ago, who's come up again in the Channel 4 documentary, he was murdered over trying to whistleblow and expose what was going on in the borough of Lambeth in exactly the same timeline as when Vincent Rat was operating. Melting Pot has only just, the children of Melting Pot have only just been recognised by the Lambeth Redress Scheme. We were the first to ask for that because I thought it was absolutely outrageous that Lambeth had finally, you know, not that it was a bad thing that they'd given Shirley Oaks survivors their dues, but they had finally done that after many years of campaigning from the Shirley Oaks survivors. Kudos to them. But because they own the Shirley Oaks homes, that is why they had to do it. And they left out the black children homes that they had subcontracted and put black children in there specifically in the name of cultural specificness. But they weren't giving them redress because their excuse was they didn't own the homes. Can you believe it? But those children were the same Lambeth residents as the Shirley Oaks survivors. What the bloody hell was going on? So we called for that, and I met with Lambeth MPs around 2021, and I was told that they would get back to me in 2 weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks, and set up another meeting. Never heard from them again. All three of them, because there's three women. Two of them are women of colour. I thought it was really interesting in the meeting, actually, how the one MP that wasn't of colour was the one who was leading the meeting and seemed quite nonchalant and quite dispassionate and didn't seem to be that bothered. It was horrible. So I hear the sister. I hear her, but we love her and we value her. And guys, we need to get ourselves behind this. We really, really do. Share this live. I'm going to put out some shorts on Instagram so that we can really highlight the point, because I ain't stopping. The Dirty Rat believes that he's got away. But now we have Daisy and Daisy's law, and your children are now victims. The children that you sired through rape of little children, Rat, are now victims, the same as their mother, under the law. So let's see what they have to say about it. Let's see how they feel about it. Because if you know that Vincent Rat is your father, or you suspect that Vincent Rat may well be your father, DM me and we'll take you through the process. DM me. I will put you in touch with Daisy. She's a bigger expert on this than I am. So please, guys, it is going to happen. I always said this year was a turnaround year, and I still believe that. The year isn't done, and it certainly ain't over until Afua stops singing. Okay? Yes, Mr. In God It Trust. He is that man from Acre Lane, Lambeth Council staff killed. His killer was not found today. Absolutely. That's Bubic Forsyth. Yes, he is. Just looking at some of the comments. Malia says that her and Toya was saying a couple of weeks ago when I mentioned the Channel 4 documentary, but I don't think you saw the comment. Okay. Yeah, we did talk about that. And I saw something on Instagram actually talking that Veronica Cadogan did not own Melting Pot. She actually did. She had stakes in Melting Pot along with the owner that was fronting it. It was one big operation. It was one big paedophile ring. We exposed it. We had our receipts. We had our witness testimonies, and we exposed it. Go back and look on that. It's before we did YouTube Live, sister, if you're watching. And we were doing Instagram Lives while I was still in Tanzania. We uncovered the whole Veronica Cadogan thing. And there were links also into my daughter's family with a couple of her kids and stuff like that. Really deep stuff. But I'm definitely going to be reaching out to the victims, the children, of Vincent Rat that I do have contact with, because I do have contact with a couple of them that are, and make them aware that they are now victims of the same status as their mother. They are victims of rape. That's who they are, because that's what it means. It means that they are also victims of rape and have the same legislative rights as the mother who went through those things. So massive piece of legislation, massive breakthrough. I'm definitely going to be utilizing it to its full extent and driving for a whole lot more than just the children coming forward, because once they do come forward, we're hoping to get some certain things in place. I'm not going to announce that yet because it isn't finalized. I'm really praying. Put your prayers out for this thing that isn't finalized, because it will add the final piece to the puzzle. It really will. And then Lambeth will have to start paying attention. Lambeth will start to have to start answering my emails, because I do follow up with them. You know, what happened? Nothing comes back. Massive wall of silence. For those of you that think that I just come here on a Friday night and bail out people's business and the perpetrator's dirty past, no, there is a lot of campaigning that goes into the background, or goes on in the background. And I'm a one-woman show at the moment in that regard. I used to have help. I no longer do. I may go into that one day as to why that is, because that's a story within itself. But yeah, I'll see how I feel. Depends on my mood. But guys, I'm going to wrap it up. 1 hour 29, getting up to pre-clipped lives, you know, the 3-4 hour lives. I've tried to cut them down recently. As I told you guys, I'm going to make some changes last year. And that's one of them, is trying to be a lot more measured and structured for my own well-being, quite frankly. So yeah, that was nice. 1 hour 30, that's about right. Guys, see you guys next week. We've got a story coming out next week, which I will be talking more about. In fact, it's come out this week, about that yard man, that dirty bungle. What was his name again? Dwayne Bennett, I believe. Where's he gone? Where's Dwayne Bennett? I think it's Dwayne Bennett. Where's this thing jumping? I'm so bad with names, you know. Dwayne Wellington, the yard man, who's on my page at the moment. We're going to be talking about him in detail next week. I pray that we can get witness testimony, but it's sensitive and there's an ongoing case, so we'll see what happens. But in any event, because of this case, it's really got to me. There's a lot I know that I'm not saying. It's really got to me, and I am actually going to stand in the gap and tell the story myself, which I haven't done for a long time. But I'm going to do it on this occasion. I'm going to stand in the gap, and we're going to talk about Dwayne Wellington. Hopefully I will locate a picture of Carvel as well, which was Daisy's perpetrator, Daisy and her mum's perpetrator, and put him up again, because I think he needs a rerun, especially in light of Daisy's Law. Let's plug it. Let's share it. Please like the live, guys. You lot ain't liking the live. You're watching. You're not liking the live. And my mods always tell you to, but I hardly plug it. So like, subscribe, share, because this message needs to go out. And as I said, I'm going to put some shorts out on the back of it as well. So blessed love, my people. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. And I shall see you guys next week on Afua Speaks Community Conversations. Blessed love. Yeah, we know about Vincent Rat's church, but don't worry about that. Maybe I'll talk about that another time. Bless up, my people. See you guys next week.